Hello and welcome to this edition of Piedmont Business Live. I'm your host, Ken Morrison, and today we are with Jeff Johnson, the president of SalesHEAD Solutions. Jeff, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity.
Tell me, what is SalesHEAD Solutions all about?
Well, we are a sales performance improvement company, and we enable salespeople and business leaders to select, manage, and develop the sales team. We're all about helping our participants or our trainees reach their full sales potential. And we do that through a number of different ways. We work through an assessment process to make sure that we understand the gaps that salespeople may have in their performance or capability. We provide different forms, which we'll talk about, of developmental and training type options to help them get better at those competencies and to become more effective salespeople. And we also work with business leaders to provide a management type service where we provide or we help them from a sales management perspective to manage the salespeople, whether it be collecting reports or driving activity or even field rides at times. So we kind of have a fairly broad expanse of types of things that we do.
Okay. And so what makes SalesHEAD Solutions unique? It's, there are several different types of sales type of organizations out there, so what sets you apart?
That's a great question, Ken. There's really a lot of great sales organizations and a lot of great training and development that's out there. And I think what truly sets us apart and makes us unique is our ability to customize the experience for our participants or our trainees. We don't necessarily believe there's one right way to sell. Salespeople all sell different ways. We want to leverage that uniqueness of the person to make sure that we're helping to develop those skills. And again, really our uniqueness lies in our ability to customize the whole training and development experience to that unique need of the individual. We assess them as they come in, so we really work hard to understand what it is that they bring to the table already, and then where those gaps in development or knowledge or competencies may lie. And then we customize the developmental experience. So we're not just bringing a off-the-shelf, here's a training program, right, boom, and offering it to everybody. We're really trying to customize around the unique needs and requirements of each person and build them a developmental plan. In fact, we typically start our engagements with the assessment, but quickly develop or produce a performance development program for that individual, which we then help them execute throughout the term of the engagement that we're working with them. In fact, another thing that makes us unique is that we often access third-party resources. So we may go to somebody like a Huthwaite. I don't know if you're familiar with spin selling.
Yes.
Spin selling's a professional questioning technique. So maybe it should be spin questioning instead of spin selling. But we would use third-party solution providers if the need called for it, and our trainee or the person we're working with, if that's an area of development, I don't have anything better than spin selling. So we would bring those guys in and help with that particular component.
I would imagine that the way a person sells would be dictated in a large way by what they're selling, whether it's product or service. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say that there's a lot of, there is variation in the way people sell based on what they're selling. If they're selling a product, it's more tangible. If you're selling a service, it's that intangible sell, that value proposition that has to be slightly different. But I think what's similar in everything that we do is that, and really our philosophy is underlying all the differences, there's a process. That process is from finding what we call a suspect, finding potential clients. Salespeople have to be able to go out there and find a suspect, and they've got to move them through the sales process until they close the sale or ultimately get a check or ultimately get that commitment that they're looking for whether it's a product or service or not. They've got to progress that customer. So we focus really wholeheartedly on that process and everything that we do, making sure that the sales team person that we're working with understands the process and has the knowledge, skills, and competencies to progress through each phase. We feel like if we can develop that base foundation, then we can worry about product differentiation or service type value propositions, or even bringing in other competencies to the table. But the first thing we worry about is let's get a process in place, make sure they know it, they're using it, and they're actually effective at moving people through. Faster we can get them through that process, the quicker the check comes, right?
Right. And that's what you want.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Now, tell me, when did you start SalesHEAD Solutions, and what was your vision for this company?
I started the company 2 years ago. We're a little over 2 years old now. So the real reason for starting it is I felt like there was a significant lack of standardization in selling. If you look at other industries, there's all types of different certifications and pre-work that must be done to call oneself say it's a project manager. To be a certified project manager, there's things you have to have accomplished and able to do. Having been in the corporate environment for a large portion of my life, being both a salesperson and a sales leader, I found that was the biggest challenge we would have, is not knowing what you got. When somebody's coming in to interview or to look for a job, they have experience, they've sold, they haven't sold, whatever, but you truly don't know if they can sell. Now you can call references, you can look at results and do all these things, but you don't know if that person understands the sales process and what knowledge, skills, and competencies they have and they're bringing to the table, unless you really dig a lot deeper, which is exactly what we do. We dig deeply into that assessment component to determine, can they sell? Most of the time the answer is yes, but then we want to know even more. What do they need to know, learn, develop in order to be effective at selling what we sell, at this company? So that lack of standardization, lack of not knowing what you're getting, always felt painful as a person hiring. And when I came out of corporate, the first thing I thought of was we really need to standardize selling. There's different levels of sales people and skills and competencies, and if we could define that, and more importantly, be able to share that with the corporate world or the business leaders who are hiring salespeople. Imagine for a moment if you were hiring someone and you actually knew what they knew.
Right.
So essentially, we want to give that capability to our business clients and helping them know that salesperson before they get in. So we're going to prepare them according to a program and ultimately be able to certify them. So our vision is actually, when we started, was to establish a standard of knowledge, skills, and competencies for professional selling. That's really what we want to do, is we want to be the standard.
I used to work for a company many years ago where they would bring in salespeople, and it became a revolving door. And those of us on the production side, we kind of had a running joke of there's no point in even getting to know their names because they're coming in and out. It was almost as if they were just bringing in salespeople and seeing which one stuck.
Yeah.
And I would imagine a service like yours ultimately would be a big cost savings to a company, rather than doing the, bring them all in and see which ones can make it.
Yes. Yeah, we feel like our value proposition is fairly expansive, but that's really the key piece is it costs companies quite a bit of money to hire the wrong person. Yeah. So one of the first things that we did as I developed the company and started the company was I really looked at, okay, what do I need to know about people? How can I quickly assess people to determine what I'm getting? So we worked really hard on developing on two things, really. We partnered, we developed a strategic partnership with Profiles International. Profiles is one of the largest assessment companies out there. The second thing that we did is we thought quickly, well, this personality assessment through Profiles is fantastic for certain things, but it doesn't tell me can they sell. So we took it further and actually have customized an assessment process or developed a custom assessment process to take people down that path and really dig into what they can do and what they need help with. But on average, companies that turn over salespeople spend a great deal of money to do that. You've got the hiring costs. You might be paying a recruiter, so you're paying for the placement. You've got training and development and ramp-up time, which might be 90 days, might be 6 months. But on average, the expense to hire and then lose a salesperson is significantly into the thousands of dollar range. So we feel like we can really help impact that and drive savings to the bottom line and get that long-term person right out the gate.
Well, who is your target audience, your target market, I should say?
That has been probably one of the biggest challenges. Is there's so many people we can help. It's so broad, but yet as a small company, and especially at startup, we lack the resources to go after that whole market. So when you've got a big vision, the biggest challenge then is how do you constrict it and how do you get it to something manageable that you can deal with. So we're still a little broader than maybe we'll end up in a few years, but today we really serve 3 different groups. We serve small businesses as one tier of our clients, and these small businesses typically have 1 to 5 salespeople in them. Most of the time they don't have that sales management infrastructure, and often we're working with the business owner, the president, the CEO, that person who wears all the hats, who is managing the sales team while also managing the business. One of the services we offer is our management solutions, our management services program, which really puts us in as a part-time or outsourced sales manager. So we'll come in and we'll take over some of those responsibilities from that business owner to help select, develop, and manage those sales team members. So we've got that small business market. We've got a mid-tier market. I call them mid-size accounts. I've been saying the word mid-tier of late, but that typically is a company that has a sales infrastructure. There may be a chief sales officer, there may be a VP of sales, there may be some sales managers. They typically will have 5 to 25 sales reps, and maybe even bigger. Most of the time they're distributed. They're not all in one spot. They're covering a regional type territory or even a national territory. This customer is different. They don't need sales management help, and they don't always need developmental help because they have the capability from a funding standpoint to go buy whatever they might need, and they're used to doing that. But what we have found is they really need the assessment component because they have turnover issues. They have slow ramp-up time issues. They have may not have the training resources that 10 years ago, bigger companies had a training department. Often those training departments are now gone. So it falls to the sales managers and even sometimes the VP of sales to make sure development is occurring. But one of the things that we found is all of them are very interested in our assessment program and especially our custom program, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But it goes well beyond what a traditional online personality assessment can do.
Well, tell me about that custom program.
All right, love to. Again, we don't think you can take an online personality assessment and determine whether someone can sell. Granted, you can ask questions, you can do examples. There's all kinds of different assessment tools out there, whether it's DISC or any other thing that gives us insight into how people act, behave, etc. But it doesn't tell us whether or not they can sell anything.
Right.
So we have been working actually with one of our first clients out of Atlanta. We worked on a program for 12 months and developing a custom assessment process for their team. They had 25 salespeople. The issue for the chief sales officer was, are my people doing what they need to be doing when they're in front of the client? Are they delivering on all this stuff I've given them? I've given them spin selling. I've given them all these different training opportunities. We've given them a ton of technology, iPads, smart boards, custom portals. Excuse me. Can they use it? Do they use it effectively to move sales forward? So just can they perform? Are they performing? So we designed came up with a 3-tiered program that we used with this client that was very effective. Tier 1 was the online personality type assessment. We used one of our profiles assessments it's called the Profile Sales Assessment, to look at their sales ability. It really digs into, does a person fit a role? Do they fit in the job? It looks at cognitive skills, how they learn, what is the best way to teach these guys and gals going forward. It looks at behavior, how do they behave on the job, and that is things like energy level and manageability, objective thinking, assertiveness, those types of tasks or competencies. And it looks at the occupational interest level, what kind of work motivates these people to get up out of bed at 7 o'clock or 6:30 and get out to work early and make those calls and do what they need to do. So we did that assessment, and we developed a profile for each of their different types of sales. Again, though, that still didn't tell us anything as far as selling skills. So then we took it to the next level, and we looked at job knowledge, which is our second tier in the ring. Job knowledge is all about, does the person have the product and or service knowledge? Do they know what they need to know about what they're selling? Do they understand the market and the competition, which is the second area? Do they have a good grasp of the competitive landscape? Do they know how to effectively position their solution against that of their competitors? A critical selling skill, as I'm sure you'd agree. Technology and tools. Do they understand technology? Can they run a PowerPoint? Can they work a smartboard when they show up to a client? Because all that type of things are credibility builders.
Right.
And it helps you deliver that corporate message that's trying to get taught. And finally, do they have the business and or financial acumen to sit with a C-level person and have a conversation? Do they understand what they need to understand to be effective and to be credible? So we designed a set of assessments for that. A lot of it was kind of interesting. We actually built it like it was a what is the word I'm looking for? A request for proposal. We built it out like an RFP. We asked a bunch of questions as an RFP in corporate America would, and had them respond to it as though it was an actual situation. And we built some case studies around it. They had some background, but we were looking for, did they actually have the knowledge to complete this RFP and give us the information that needed to be given to us that covered all those 4 bases. Granted, the answers were already there in their marketing material, but could they, number one, go get it? And number 2, could they articulate that message back to us? So it's just an interesting approach. We actually built the scorecard and we graded those results with the management team, and that became Tier 2. Tier 3 was actually a live performance. So we created more case studies, which we got to them ahead of time, and we actually had the team emulate 2 steps of the sales process. For this customer, one big step was their discovery step, and that is, when you ask the questions to find the pain or find the problems. Their discovery process was pretty detailed and pretty lengthy, usually involved a lot of people, but we culled it down to about a 60-minute meeting with a panel. So we had the leadership of the company and myself as the panel. We all had roles, which we defined ahead of time, and who we were and what we were there to do. And we had a financial person, we had a leader, we had an influencer, and we also held back some information to see if the salesperson could actually discover it from us by asking the right questions. So that was interesting. And then we had them take that information. We gave them about half a day, about 4 hours to leave with what they learned, put together a presentation, come back and give us that presentation, all of which we filmed. And when it was all said and done, we had an unbelievable repertoire of information on each salesperson. We scored it all out. We looked at the other tiers that we had done, and we came up with kind of a stack rank of everybody on the back end. But most importantly, our deliverable for that client and for all our clients going forward was a personal development plan for each sales rep. So we knew how they behaved, we knew what they knew, and we knew how they sold. And between all those three things, the personal development plan was just dead on to what these people needed to work on going forward. And that's the type of assessment that we believe is necessary to truly get at whether people know what they need to know to be successful.
And with all of that you did, tell me what the ultimate impact on that client was.
Well, it's an ongoing process. We spent a year going through it, building it, creating it. We kind of did it together with their management team and SalesHEAD. And thus far, the results have been good, but we're still collecting data to actually come back and say and deliver that ROI. All right, this program, we did this. Here was our turnover result. Here was our sales boost result, or our sales growth result. Those numbers are still coming in. We're trying to give it really a year of going forward with the program before we announce what those results look like. But it's been tremendous. They've taken a lot of things we didn't even think about doing. Number one, we could take what we did and essentially create a hiring model going forward, because now we know what we're looking for in the most successful salespeople. So that was a win that we didn't think we were going to get. That should help reduce turnover further going forward on new hires. And then we also, by videotaping this whole process, we were able to come back and see that certain people performed exceptionally well in certain areas. And we had it recorded. And the beauty of that is now we can take those recordings, and they actually started using them immediately to onboard new sales reps. You want to know how to deliver this presentation of our company? Watch these two guys. So they immediately started incorporating videos into their onboarding process, which reduces ramp-up time, for new salespeople. So those are some soft costs that we can kind of speak to today, and maybe next time we talk, I'll be able to give you those hard numbers on the back end.
Well, what about other clients that you've worked with? Have you seen immediate returns for them, or at least returns thus far that you can put your finger on?
Yeah, we've been doing that assessment process now for closing in on a year since we actually completed it. So, we've seen the ability to reduce turnover by as much as 30% in the sales force thus far. We're seeing sales cycle times being reduced. We're seeing a pretty broad range there, because sometimes we discover we have the wrong people, and we don't necessarily, we're not using these assessments to move people out of jobs. But it does help us going forward. So in some cases, we've still got a few wrong people in place. So it brings down somewhat those end results. But sales cycle time is being reduced from 10 to 20%. So we're closing the gap on how long it takes to go from here to here. And then most of our clients, those selling cycles are 90 days to 6 months. So if we can, 20%, it's not 100%, it's not going from 6 months to a day. But if we can pull, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks out of it, it's that much quicker that the company gets the revenue recognition that they're looking for with that closed sale. So we're getting there.
Well, one thing you mentioned a minute ago is interesting to me. You talked about this client in Atlanta. So based on that, I would assume that you can pretty much take clients anywhere in the country?
Absolutely. Now we are focused mostly on the North Carolina region, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, the Piedmont, as well as Charlotte and Raleigh areas. But certainly that I-85 corridor is wide open. We hope to really maximize our relationship in Atlanta to kind of build our business down 85. So We're looking at Greenville, South Carolina. We're looking at expanding out in Charlotte and going beyond that. But yes, we can go really anywhere that we have the right opportunity. It's easier as a small company to work with companies nearby that we can obviously drive to, but ultimately we want to cover this country. So we'd love to have clients from anywhere and everywhere.
Okay. I'm going to turn the tables on you a little bit. Sales for a lot of people can be scary.
Okay.
So tell me one bit of advice that you would give to somebody that you wish you had gotten when you first started your sales career.
That is turning the tables on me just a little bit, but it's a great question. I've gotten a lot of advice. I've had some great managers, some great mentors, and I've read a ton of books and material, and I always fall back to some of that. But I'm thinking of two things. As you say that, two things pop into my mind. The first is a quote I had heard somewhat into my career, but not necessarily on day one. But it was, and it may have been Zig Ziglar, but don't hold me to that. I'm not sure. But it was, do what you fear most, and you control fear. And that has always stuck with me as an axiom of sales. Is sales is scary, and it can be difficult, and sometimes it is hard to walk into a situation and talk to strangers or approach those people that you don't know, who may not even know you're showing up at their door. So it can be quite a scary event, but with that thought running through your mind, it's like, okay, I can handle this. I'm just going to do it. You know, the best way to overcome a fear is just to keep going. So that was certainly one. The second one had to do with activity, or had to do with slumps. You know, you hear about, if you look at baseball, you hear somebody's in a batting slump, or maybe it's football and the quarterback's in a passing slump and he's thrown a couple of interceptions, which we witnessed a few in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But salespeople sometimes can get into that mental slump. And one of the things I learned a couple years in was there's really one way to get out of it, and that's to work your way out. Yep. So if you're down, if you're not getting the results that you want, certainly development is an option. You know, you want to train and develop as much as you can, but you also have to go. You got to go out the door. You got to go down the street, or get on the phone, or do whatever you got to do, and you've got to go see people. So one of the stories I heard, I think it was Tom Hopkins. His company's Champions Unlimited. He's been around the block a long time. Started in real estate, as a matter of fact. But he had a principle called GOYA, G-O-Y-A, and that principle stood for get off your blank. So when you got in a slump, GOYA was the solution.
Good idea.
Mm-hmm.
What would you consider to be your proudest accomplishment since you have started SalesHEAD Solutions?
Paying the bills.
That's a good one.
That is always the best one. But the ability to, I'd say the proudest accomplishment is really watching someone grow and develop. I mean, my passion has always been developing people. Ultimately, this company is about people. You know, we serve a lot of business clients. We talked about small business, mid-tier. What I didn't say was we also serve individuals. We do that through a number of ways, but primarily through some coaching and a couple of group trainings that we do from time to time as well. But our focus is on making salespeople more effective, helping them earn a living, and creating a sense of, or bringing a sense of professionalism into selling. I am so thrilled to have become a salesperson. When I was young, when I went to college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I did know that I wanted to do something with business. My mother was an entrepreneur and a salesperson, and she was awesome. My father was an entrepreneur as well, and he had the risk piece. My mother had the sales piece, so I really got to see, I was brought up with some great business intuition and knowledge and examples to watch. So I really wanted to do something with that and really follow in those footsteps and be entrepreneurial, be salesy, get to do something in sales, but I didn't know what. So I went to school and started studying business, and essentially found out that it doesn't really necessarily teach you enough to really make you a professional salesperson, or make you a professional marketeer, or make you a professional computer hacker, or for lack of a better word. But development, did help you get to that, and you really had to go. You had to get out and go. Yeah. You had to learn, the techniques and skills that are out there, and then you had to have an opportunity. So when I started and got that first opportunity, I'm so happy that I did, and I'm so happy that it was successful. With the work that you have to put in to do it, and to be successful, I was able to do that, and now I can give some of that back to other people who don't know what they want to do, or they want to make a transition in their career. Unemployment is too high. sales professionals, there's not enough. So, my proudest accomplishment is helping someone who, has a certain level of skill or no sales skill or experience at all, and watching them grow and earn a living for their family that sales can deliver. Sales is a great profession. It's a great profession for earning money, and anybody that can get into it, it's a great opportunity. That was a long answer to a short question, probably.
That's a good answer, though. It really is. Entrepreneurship is really the backbone of this country, and one of the reasons why we do this show is to talk to entrepreneurs like yourself and to see what it is that drives you and what it is that makes you successful. So that's a terrific answer, and I'm sure that starting your own business, it's a scary thing, but the advice that you have and based on your own experience is very helpful to hear, and I'm sure that you're very satisfied with your business and where it's headed.
Yeah, we're extremely excited. The challenge with a small business is getting the word out. It's shows like this that help us to do that, and we appreciate the opportunity to participate and get a chance to get our message out to others, because I do believe we have a very unique value proposition, a unique offering, and we're completely focused on that individual effort. We want to help people be successful. We just can't tell enough of them as a small company. So my hope is that we can get that word out. We can increase opportunities for people. And one of the things I heard, I learned way back in the day, and this may have been Zig Ziglar as well, was if you can help enough people get what they want, you will get what you want.
Exactly.
So that's kind of been our philosophy really from day one.
Absolutely. Well, I understand you have a special offer for Piedmont Business Live viewers. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. We are getting ready to announce, actually today, we're going to launch a new program.
Yep.
And today it's called SalesHEAD On. And what SalesHEAD On is really a one-to-one coaching opportunity for up-and-coming salespeople. We have put together a 90-day program that involves some one-on-one time with SalesHEAD team members. It involves some online training. It involves some role plays. It involves a lot of different things, but primarily what it does is it will, in 90 days, teach someone how to walk through a sales process, how to go from finding a suspect or a potential client to closing that opportunity at the end. And helping them get whatever it is that they're trying to get or solve whatever problem they're trying to solve. So our special offer is we're going to do that for anybody that finds us here through Piedmont Live by offering a little bit over a 25% discount on that. So we're going to do it for $195 a month for Piedmont Live people. $195 a month is going to get you this one-on-one program and really teach you the essence of how to become a professional salesperson. That's our offer.
Excellent. Well, if you'd like to know more about SalesHEAD Solutions and Jeff Johnson, then please visit the website. It's at the bottom of this page, and it's also at the end of this video. Jeff, thanks very much for being with us and sharing your knowledge and experience with us, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Piedmont Business Live. I'm Ken Morrison. We'll see you next time.